53 days, 25 games overall. Paul George has been out for the Philadelphia 76ers. He returns on Wednesday to face the Chicago Bulls since his suspension. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Podcast here on a Tuesday live from the Xfinity Lounge along with Derek Kyle. I'm Devon and Bree, the president of basketball operations. We are presented by Bet365, where winning is everything. And the Sixers need to do a lot of winning over these last 10 games, and Paul George better be a big part of that winning after missing a lot of action for this basketball team in a critical part of the season. We will get to so much from the press conferences. Derek and Kyle were at the press conference today as Paul George spoke for the first time since the suspension ahead of his return to the Philadelphia 76ers, and see what he had to say about so many different things, of course, that can span about when you discuss a 25-game suspension because of, just using something that the NBA says you cannot use and put in your body, of course, during the season. So we'll get to all that. We'll get to the stretch presented by Rothman a little bit later. But first, let's have a conversation about Paul George and what was said today. You guys were there. Kyle wrote a story at allphly.com. If you haven't seen that as of yet, to all of you, make sure you check it out at allphly.com. But start off, Kyle, of you guys were there, kind of set the scene for us all who were unable to make it.
Yeah, so I mean, first he came out and just straight up apologized to not just his teammates, but the city, his family, for I guess maybe that was the shame he might have brought on people by getting suspended, and the whole organization, and taking accountability for his absence. He didn't delve at all into, in fact, just said it's a personal matter on the actual substance here, but said, regardless, it's his responsibility, and he took accountability for it, which is really that's all I think people are asking for. I think it would have been interesting if we learned what it was, but I don't think it actually changes the story here. And I think the most insightful thing and the most important thing that we heard was the why behind why he says he got suspended, which is that his body wasn't feeling right. And with his body not doing what he wanted it to do, then that got to him mentally. And so that caused him to take the actions that he did that he says led to the suspension. And basically said, the silver lining of this suspension is I had time off for 25 games for basically 2 months. And now the knee's good. The body's good. He's ready to get back into the swing of things and go, full speed right away. Doesn't know if the conditioning will be there, but I think generally you'd say it was a positive presser, but I wasn't expecting him to come here and be like, boy, it's all doom and gloom. I think he just reflected a lot on how he got there, how it came at an unfortunate time, but all he can control is the right now of it all. And everybody obviously hopes that it's the version of Paul George they hoped they were getting when they signed him in free agency.
So summarizing what you just said, take care of your mentals, your bodies, and your chickens.
And your chickens.
And your chickens.
To Kyle's point, I think a lot of people wanted to know exactly what he took. I think going into it, you knew he wasn't going to divulge that kind of information. He talked about how the mental and the physical are linked together and yada, yada, yada. And I'm kind of with Kyle. I don't really care to, I think there's some people who almost want, I don't want to say want blood, but want, a little bit of, they're angry about the 25-game suspension. And I get that, but for the most part, nothing he was going to say, nothing he was going to admit to was going to change that. You're angry about the suspension, learning too much about the exact nature of what he took and whatnot was not going to fix that. I do think for the most part, and I'm sure some people are going to nitpick it online. We, of course, have the whole presser up at on our PHLY Sports YouTube page. He came out right from the jump and said, look, I apologize. I messed up, yada, yada, yada. For the most part, I think that's all I truly cared about. He did talk a little bit about how he's been, working out and trying to simulate game action. How he's been, running a lot of scrimmages where he is Shea, although I'm not sure if he could emulate.
You brought up SGA and Luka specifically.
I don't know if he could truly emulate those two as a practice squad guy. If he could, that would be an incredible addition down the stretch. But, I do think he has been, and he talked about it I've done as much work as I can. Nothing can truly simulate game speed. Nothing can truly simulate having to make those kind of instinctive reactions on the court that you need to play at a high level. But he's looking forward to using these next 10 games as a springboard and treating them as playoff games, which they need to because they are still relatively close in the standings. Like the 5th seed, the 6th seed, that is not out of play. I think if you had told me, back 25 games ago, I thought it would have been gone. Quite frankly, they have, and maybe I didn't give the number of tanking teams that they were playing enough focus there, but I think they have probably treaded water a little better than I would have expected. Now they're still in a spot where if he comes back, plays well, if Joel comes back, plays well, they have a chance to have a pretty respectable playoff season.
They almost literally treaded water. They were 13-12 in the 25 games, which I think at the time we would have been slightly upset about, knowing at the time or thinking at the time that Maxey was available and healthy when he went down. Joel was available and relatively healthy when he went down. And they came out right after the suspension, and they had that really good win against the Clippers. They kicked the crap out of the Warriors, and so it looked like they had a runway in front of them. Obviously, after that, they dealt with more of the uncertainty with Joel. You go down the list of guys who have been injured or ill since then, and it ends up, 13-12 is not great, but at least it wasn't the bottom dropped out entirely. And so now the onus is on Paul and on the rest of these guys. Like, okay, the decision and the mistake is what it is. What do you do with it now, I think, is the most important thing. And it was interesting to hear him say at different points, like, he's been encouraged by the young guys, but also knows I have to come out right away and go and get mine, right? This isn't an easier way back into things. It's not Paul George is coming back to be the sidekick to Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. This is a version of Paul George that needs to come back and be a genuine secondary, if not primary, scoring option. And that's not a version of Paul that we've seen a whole hell of a lot, even when he has been relatively healthy. So how they absorb him, I think, is some of the conversation we're going to have over the next hour or so. And I'm excited for it. I don't know what to expect because, as he acknowledged, he has to knock off rust is a real thing. It's good that he wasn't completely excommunicated and he could be in the gym with the team, be on the scout team, be in the weight room. All those are good things. But he said himself, there's no substitute for game reps. Got to get game cardio, game legs, all of that. He's probably expecting his reads to be not quite as sharp in the first few games back. And as we talked about on post game last night, the Bulls game, they should win it, or we hope that they win it because it's a team that doesn't really have much of a chance.
They gave the Rockets.
But then you get somebody certainly they're a team that's trying to compete, at least the guys who are on the floor. But then right after that, after your return, you got to go play Charlotte and Miami on the road, two teams that they are in direct competition with right now for seeding in the play-in race. So there is no, got to bring it up, where's the jar? There is no ramp-up period. There is in theory, but in terms of they need him to be good right away because we're still probably another week at least away for Tyrese Maxey. We don't know if Kelly Oubre is going to come right back and play, or if there's going to be a couple more games potentially after his reevaluation that he might miss. A lot of balls in the air, so to speak. So we'll see what Paul is able to bring right away.
I found it interesting, the phrasing that he used when he said, come back and be the focal point. To your point of, we haven't really seen that. Yeah, we saw a couple of big games, that 30-plus where he had, 7 threes against the Atlanta Hawks in that game that they lost that close one. Saw some other games where he had high 20s and what he was able to do. But using the focal point was very interesting to me, the way that he said that. And look, you don't know what to make of it, as you pointed out. I just want, because Maxey and Oubre are still out, we'll get an update when we do about Kelly Oubre, hopefully sometime this week, Tyrese Maxey next week. And we don't know yet of Joel Embiid, but I just want VJ Edgecombe to have someone else out there on the floor with him. No matter how much time he has missed, Quentin Grimes hopefully back from the illness on Wednesday against the Bulls. But while I don't know what you're going to get from Paul George, he's better than the others that have been elevated to that next part of the rotation because of his absence. So I'll just simply take it in that one. You mentioned 13-12 during this 25-game suspension. When he left, they were 26-21. They are now 39-33 on the season. And I think when they did leave, even though we thought Embiid would play a little bit more than we expected and certainly didn't anticipate an injury with Tyrese Maxey to keep him out, that if at worst case, stay up right around 500, you should be in pretty good shape. The problem is you're relying on the others around you, the Toronto Raptors, Atlanta Hawks, Orlando Magic. All of those teams, you're worried about what they're doing around you because of the fact that you're down so many guys, one in which case that it was his fault with taking whatever he did take. So this is just more of, hey, come back. You have to put your foot on the gas and go. There's no time to mess around. While they're only, a game and a half back of fifth place, they're still, because Kyle brings up Charlotte and Miami next, that's really important right there. The Atlanta Hawks, while you may be a game and a half back, no tiebreaker there, my friends, because you got swept by them this season. And for the Atlanta Hawks, so that's where he has to just come out, and since he made his bed, he has to come out and make sure that he comes out and doesn't make mistakes and where it hurts the Sixers in a big way, because these games down the stretch here are very important for them to get these W's and try to sneak in there, at worst, to be in the 8. At worst. You don't want to be in the 9-10. Got to be in the 8, where if you win that game, even as an 8 over the 7, you're automatically in. You don't have to worry about that second one. But if you do, you play that second one just to sneak in there as that 8th seed. I just need him to come out there and just play basketball tomorrow and do his part and help out VJ Edgecombe, where we saw, Kyle, you were saying last night, VJ looks tired.
He's been hands on the hips at the end of the third, and the heavy lifting he was doing.
A lot of load.
I don't
there.
blame him.
Yeah, so to have Paul George and whatever run that he has in him, being a facilitator, maybe he's right around that 13 points that we were talking about, but he is helping facilitate the offense. He is grabbing those rebounds. He's doing the extra things to try to get himself back into that game shape that he talks about, because there are a lot of games there that, while they're only 10, they're all bunched up, man. Yeah. And you don't have a lot of time here.
No, there's 6 teams within 3 games of each other in the Eastern Conference standings. You could end up legitimately anywhere from 5th to 10th, based on how you perform down the stretch here. And look, I mean, yes, on the one hand, Paul being back will help defensively because he's so positionally sound. He's so versatile. He'll help offensively because he can space the floor. But you need more than just floor spacing Paul George right now. You desperately need. It was great what VJ did last night. It was incredible. The fact that he was able to, launch 15 threes, make 7 of them. Even just how effective he was in the second half of that game. Did he sit at all? Did he sit a minute?
Not until the game was over.
Yeah.
He played the entire third, and then when Nurse made the decision, we're calling off the dogs, that's when VJ sat in the fourth.
And Kyle's right. He looked like he was tired midway through that third quarter, and for him to still be able to maintain effectiveness, it was great. But he needs help. He needs someone not only to space the floor, he needs someone to create offense for both him and the rest of the team. And Paul is the most likely one to come back and do that. This is usually where I'd be like, well, it takes some time. You do have to get back into rhythm. The jump shot's probably going to be off a little bit. Your timing's going to be off. No, you don't really have enough help on the floor for your timing to be off. You need to hit the ground running right away. It's a tough spot for him to be in, but he's well rested at the very least, and they need every minute they can get out of him right now.
And the difference between this and we normally are talking about, hey, a guy coming back from injury, right? And so part of that period, if they miss 25 games, is you're just sitting down. You're doing nothing. You're not out on the floor going through workouts, playing in scrimmages, being part of shoot-arounds. And Paul was able to do all that stuff. Now, I agree with the sense that it's not the same as playing in a game. It's not the same as having a hostile opponent who's breathing down your neck, is up in your jersey trying to stop you. But he's at least been able to be upright, keep himself in good shape or good enough shape without playing actual basketball games. And so hopefully it's not as steep of a initiation process as it normally is, because you're right, they can't afford that. They need him to be good basically right away, because they also, with their returning guys, we still don't know what Tyrese Maxey is going to look like when he comes back with his pinky issue, if that's going to be something that he's got to play with or play around, or if it's going to be completely healed by the time they bring him back. We don't know what state Joel Embiid is in, and We're obviously hoping that he's able to play on Wednesday, but we don't know that for sure. And so Paul, as a relatively healthy member of this team, which is weird to say when you miss 2 months, has to come back and bring it right out the chute. He sounds mentally ready. He sounds physically ready. I think we'll play some quotes of his to describe what he went through and why he got to where he got to. But I think there are very little excuses for him right now. As the veteran making a lot of money, who's in good shape, go out there, and I'm not going to do the Shaq and dominate, but go out there and play well, play as part of this team, give VJ, Quentin, Justin just that little bit of help, and maybe some of these losses start turning into wins.
All right.
Physically in a good spot, mentally in a good spot. We'll find out about the chickens tomorrow.
Find out about the chickens tomorrow. All right, we'll see about all of that tomorrow, but we'll hear from the man, as Kyle pointed out. We'll hear some of the audio on the other side from Paul George at today's availability, what he had to say, speaking about why he did what he did, and so many other things. It's the PHLY Sixers Podcast on a Tuesday, anticipating the return of Paul George on Wednesday night against the Chicago Bulls. We'll get the stretch a little bit later as we hang out with you right here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast. All right, Philly sports fans, you know the move. Don't leave early unless you're now a part of Bet365 and taking advantage of the early payout offer. Is very safe there. If your team is riding high and they go up by 10 points at any point in the game, Bet365 will pay you out right there on the spot. At Bet365, winning is everything. So download the app today. They know that the only thing better than winning bets with your money is winning it with theirs. And here's the new move. Thanks to their Bet10 Get $365 promo available to every single new Bet365 user, you just sign up, make a $10 bet, win or lose, $365 in bonus bets is all yours. Bet365, where winning is everything. Download the app today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Please gamble responsibly. Must be present in Pennsylvania. A $10 minimum deposit required. Bonus bet wagered. Excluded from returns. New customers only. Must be 21 plus. Only. Time limits, minimum odds, and current terms and conditions apply. In-app only. Void where prohibited.
Guys, tax season is funny because it's one of the only times all year that people actually look at their full financial picture. You see what you made, you see what you spent, you see what you saved, and sometimes that doesn't entirely line up. That's why I've been using Monarch. It helps you see exactly where your money's going and where something like a tax refund can actually make the biggest impact, whether that's paying down debt or building up savings. Simplify your finances with Monarch. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, budgeting, accounts and investments, net worth, and future planning together in one dashboard on your phone or your laptop. Feel aware and in control of your finances this tax season and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with code PHLY. Monarch helps you stay proactive. Their AI insights highlight spending trends and patterns you might miss. Achieve your financial goals for good with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes money management simple. Use code PHLY at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code PHLY.
Back here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast, Derek, Kyle, Devon, and Bree. We ask you to hit the like button, like and subscribe. We thank all of you for hanging out with us on this Tuesday afternoon discussing Paul George's return. Speaking of which, he had a chance to speak today. Let's hear what Paul George had to say this afternoon about basically his mental health and where things stand right now and, of course, during that time period.
Yeah, good. Good. Obviously, being a pro athlete takes a toll on you. And my body wasn't where I wanted it to be, and the expectation to perform because of my body not being where it needed to be. Obviously, I'm going to have an expectation for myself, and that's what, led the poor decision at the time. Again, I've said it, throughout my career, dealing with mental health. I'm no superhero. I'm a human, and I made a mistake at that moment.
All right, Derek. So hearing all that, and you guys talked about it already about not knowing exactly what it was, but what did you make of his reasoning as to dealing with the mental health and making a decision that he did and why it led him to where we are?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like we mentioned at the top. I'm at the point where I don't even really care too much what he took. He should have gotten it run through the organization. He should have gotten it checked. He should have made sure, like, regardless of what he was dealing with physically, mentally, like, this was a very preventable thing. It should have been prevented, cost 25 games, didn't implode the team. So move on. Like I said, I hope he's in a good spot physically. I hope he's in a good spot mentally. I care about all of that. It's just, it would have been nice if this didn't happen, but it did, and I just move on.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, especially because it directly conflicted with something he said later in the press conference, where he was asked by, I want to say it was by Tony Jones, but I don't remember specifically, about how it felt in that moment to get suspended. And he said, no, I think we were the 5th seed, just had won a game against Sacramento. We're playing good basketball. And there was devastation of the momentum that was being built. And he said, I think I was starting to trend in a better place. My body was getting better and better over that time. And really underlining the fact that, yeah, this did come at a really awful time for him and the team. So some of that is like, well, so your body was trending in the right direction. But your body wasn't feeling good enough to the point. And so it's a little bit of talking out of both sides of his mouth. I agree with Derek's point that, to me, it doesn't really matter. Like, what matters is he broke the rules and he did it out, whether it was ignorance. And I think that is what his case has been, is that he just didn't know. And so he messed up and he took accountability for that. Those are the things that matter. He made the mistake. He's owned up to that mistake. He's good with, he said the front office has supported him. The teammates, we've heard from them. Some of them tweeted, some of them said in interviews, like, hey, we're behind Paul. We're going to support him however we can. Those are like, we could sit here and browbeat him and be like, oh my God, what a moron. How could he do this? Blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is in the past now. There is nothing. There is nothing that Paul George could do or say today that changes the fact that he made the mistake. And so all you can ask him to do is, every day that he's in the gym, from that point forward, put forth your best effort. I think they've all said Paul has been, as good of a leader as he can be, as good of a practice player as he can be. So he's doing what he can control there. Now that he's able to play again, you need him to be a vocal leader, a physical leader on the floor, someone who takes pressure off of VJ Edgecombe, who's hitting shots, playing transition defense, contributing as a rebounder. That's how you hold him accountable, or you ask him to do things now. So while I think it's interesting in the sense that, like, it gets us into his headspace, and I'm glad we're able to learn those things, end of the day, I don't really care that much personally. What I care about is when you make the mistake, what happens from there. And I think everything we've heard is positive on that front. We've seen positive things as well. And we'll talk a little bit about his work with VJ, what he said about VJ today. All that looks very, very positive, and I'm excited to see where their chemistry is at. But yeah, like, I think it gives us insight. For me, it's not insight that I particularly needed. He was suspended and he broke the rules, and that's kind of it for me.
All right, let's go to the next clip where he discusses, once he is back on the floor against the Bulls on Wednesday and going forward with the remaining 9, being aggressive and simply getting ready for his return.
Yeah, that's kind of how I view it, just to be aggressive again, and to, get back to, again, like I said earlier, like I've been feeling great preparing and working out and staying in shape. I've been feeling great, feeling explosive again, feeling strong again. And so I feel like I'm back on that level of being able to perform and be the focal guy and be the scorer. So that's my mindset going into tomorrow is to get back to being aggressive.
Need him to hit the ground running, being aggressive, lending a hand to VJ Edgecombe where it's not all on him with the heavy lifting that we saw in the game last night. So keeping that mentality going out there, we've seen him come back injuries.
Yeah.
But come back trying to do maybe a little bit too much as he's getting out there. We're all discussing, man, there's a lot of Paul George going on right here. While other things were happening, you just don't want him to disrupt things, but they need his help at the same time.
Yeah, listen, I have been someone who's been on him dating back to last year. Like, I don't want to see passive Paul George. And that changed a little bit this season because Tyrese has been as good as he is. Joel's played a lot of games or had played a lot of games earlier in the season. don't need to tell me about what's happened lately. And VJ, when you draft him and he pops the way he did early, yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of the game running Paul George mid-post ISOs and different things. But I was happy to hear him say, number one, that the body feels good enough that he thinks he can come out right away and go into attack mode. But two, to be in a mental space where you're like, yeah, I'm coming back and I'm coming out firing, because he has had some big games this year. He had the one big one in Milwaukee, the one loss they had in Atlanta, despite the fact that they lost. I think that was his season high, and he played really, really well in that one.
7-3.
And was still able to, like, while he had that game, VJ had a good game down there in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure Joel had a decent game down there in Atlanta. So, like, it is possible for Paul George to come back even in a crowded lineup and be aggressive and be, closer to the guy that they thought they signed, and also fit into the team concept. And so I'm glad to hear him coming back thinking, like, I want to put my stamp on this game and on this team, because he hasn't been able to. And it was also part of his initial apology that he offered to the public today, where he said, this is a direct quote, "As a leader of this group, being brought here to be a leader, bring that edge and possibility to win here, to let people down hurts more than anything going through this process." So, like, I think he really felt that during this time, that, like, injuries are one thing. Injuries, you can't look at, the guys around the locker room and be like, man, I let these guys down. Because ultimately that's down to luck. That's down to, you might take a wrong step. Mm-hmm. You land funny, whatever it might be. This was something that was within his control, that he messed up. And so I think you could hear and feel an urgency from Paul, like, I got to come back and make it up to these guys. You don't want them to go too far and shoot them out of a game.
Right.
But finding that right line of aggression, I was happy and encouraged to hear him speak that way today.
Yeah. Look, I do still, and he can take, a month and a half, 2 months off, whatever it's been. It's almost 2 months now, right? It was late January.
Yeah, January 31st or 29th. 29th was the last game.
I'm still not sure he's going to come back with enough burst to be like consistent number one, number two option. Like, fundamentally, I still think he has to rely on a lot of tough shot making, because he doesn't get by guys like he used to. He doesn't create space and separation like he used to. So I think he's going to be streaky. But I agree, at this point you need that mentality, because I will take Paul George streakiness over trying to scale up Marjan Beauchamp into being a primary
18
option.
shots for Marjan, a little
It's
much,
a lot.
huh?
It's a lot. So I will ride and die with Paul, even if he's not, like I said, able to create the kind of space and separation to really be a consistent, high-level 25-plus point per game scorer until we get news on Joel. And obviously, if Joel comes back at the same time, that changes what you need out of Paul a little bit, or quite a bit. You still need, like, Paul's one of your most talented players available. You need him to come out with the right mindset.
Hope so, man. I mean, I hope he is. And it sounds like he is. Not a lot of time here. This is not 25 games. This is 10 games, as you guys talked about, just simply being you don't have a lot of wiggle room, a lot of room for error for anything. So he has to just come out and be himself. And you guys talked about with his minutes last night, there were no minute restrictions that Nick Nurse talked about. Mm-hmm. He said today that he's just simply ready to go. So we're talking 30-plus minutes that you hope to get out of him. It's just a matter of what the conditioning is in those stints.
And I think there might be spots where he has to look at Nurse and say, like, hey, I got to come out here.
Yeah.
Like, my legs are a little bit heavy or whatever it is. But it's good that it's not, that he's on a hard pitch count as far as we know. So we'll have to see how that unfolds and how Nurse kind of distributes his minutes throughout the game. I would imagine it's something that will evolve, not just during tomorrow's game, but over the next 10 games before the regular season ends.
Yeah, so a lot of people also in the chat asking about Oubre's update, and I see Gene is asking about Tyrese Maxey. Right around now was the 2 weeks for the update on Kelly Oubre. So as we talked about last night with Kyle, while Derek was at the arena, we said sometime this week is what the 2 weeks to hit that mark. And next week was Tyrese Maxey's third week of getting some sort of update on him. So we'll see.
Yep. The announcement for Oubre was on the 11th, and they said a reeval in about 2 weeks. That would be tomorrow. Right?
Yeah. So now, I expect when we talk to Nick Nurse pregame tomorrow, that'll be probably our first real update, unless we get a surprising change in the injury report tonight at like 5 p.m.
And I have no doubt Nick will say, "Oh, well, he's got a meeting, and I haven't heard the results."
He's got a meeting later.
You can't expect me to know that.
All right, what you can expect from us is a little bit more on Paul George on the other side, and the stretch presented by Rothman of the upcoming games for the Sixers and Paul George. By the way, no games off, buddy. Not like it was. You had 25.
You're playing back-to-backs.
You're playing 10, my man. And those back-to-backs. We'll get to the stretch presented by Rothman. So much more with Paul George and our news and notes a little bit later right here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast. What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? Did you maybe want to be a lawyer or a doctor? Maybe a professional athlete? How about an entrepreneur? If that's the case, you wanted to be an entrepreneur and you still have those aspirations, Shopify is the place for you. Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. Shopify even powers the PHLY merch store right here for our network. Hopefully you can check it out. And if you do, you'll see how easy it is to work. They've got you covered at Shopify with website creation, product descriptions, as well, email, social media marketing, and so much more. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Play that sound. Cha-ching.
Guys, next up, we want to tell you about TrueMark. It's time to make your home work smarter, not harder. With a TrueMark Financial Home Equity line of credit, you can tap into your home's equity to handle renovations, upgrades, or whatever's next on your list. A TrueMark Financial HELOC Select gives you the flexibility to borrow when you need it on your timeline. You start with a revolving line of credit, use only what you need, and when you're ready, you can lock in all or part of your balance at a fixed rate for predictable payments. You only pay interest on what you use, and as you pay it back, that credit becomes available again. No reapplying, no extra steps. With competitive rates compared to most unsecured loans and flexible repayment options, this could be a smart move for your home and for your wallet. Learn more about TrueMark Financial's home equity line of credit at TrueMark.com or stop by one of their 24 branch locations to get started. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender, NMLS 404938.
And we're back here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast. Hit the like button, like and subscribe to the show. As always, we really appreciate the interaction. Overall, can't thank you enough. But, hey, we're here. We're still building. We're still growing here. And we would love for you to simply spread the word, share the word. And while you're here, I see a lot of people in there saying, hit the like button. Yes.
Our minions are working overtime.
Hit the like button.
So thank you to all the minions out there.
Yes, hit the like button. And we're also going to need you to hit the like button tomorrow, because tomorrow, as baseball season is upon us, so is the start and the debut of our new Phillies show, the PHLY Phillies Podcast. Back to work on Wednesdays. Anthony Gargano will join the two regulars. That will be Jamie Lynch and Corey Seidman, new addition to the PHLY network. So we ask you to, as you gear up for the baseball season, you're looking forward to seeing what's going on with your Phils. You know they're going to win 90-plus games. It's just a matter of where does it go after that 90-plus games. And you need to know all of that and discuss it, talk through it, the wins, the losses. It's a long season. Back to work with the PHLY Phillies Podcast that begins tomorrow at noon right here, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But it begins, of course, on the eve of Major League Baseball getting started right here on Wednesday for the Phillies crew. So go check it out. Obviously on the television side, here on YouTube, have you covered. Corey Seidman, Jamie Lynch, Wednesdays, Anthony Gargano, every Wednesday right here at the PHLY network. I'm looking forward to it. Clearly, look at me. I'm ready to go.
Devon is Phillied up.
Phillied up, ready to go.
We need to find a hookup and get some tickets for Thursday.
You want to go?
We'll talk about that off.
All right, let's go.
We need to find a way, though.
It's kind of cold.
I think it's supposed to be like 70 on Thursday, though.
That's right.
I think Thursday it's supposed to be nice again.
You in?
Kyle doesn't
Nah, he's
baseball.
busy. He's busy. All right.
Is it a day game?
It's a day game.
I would consider it.
Yeah, it's a day game.
We are off.
It's like
and
4,
it is
right?
supposed to be
3 or
nice.
4?
Oh, well, then I'm out.
It's
Sorry.
3 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm out.
3 o'clock.
I got plans in the evening.
All right. We understand. All right. Let's get to the stretch presented by Rothman Orthopedic. Rothman Ortho. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more. Schedule your appointment. They're the best. Rothman Orthopedics. We have the stretch. We talked about the 10 games, but what's happening over the next few days and certainly this week? And we already got the OKC game in the books. That went about expected. That's why they're 39-33. They're searching for win number 40. Could it happen on Wednesday against the Chicago Bulls? Paul George makes his return. So, Paul George tomorrow against the Bulls. Can they pick up win number 40 on the season with 73 games there in the books? So that's then tomorrow. Off on Thursday and Friday are the Sixers. We're off Thursday. We're back Friday for a 3 p.m. show. Saturday, the big one, Kyle. The Charlotte Hornets, man. Last time we said it.
Well, 2 big ones.
Well, I just wanted to focus on that one because they handled the Sixers pretty well in that last game we saw them. 50.
Yeah.
50 they were down.
Now, again, weird game, changing start times, travel, all that stuff, but it's still 50.
Yeah,
it was
look,
50.
They are 7-3 in their last 10 games. They've been one of the best teams in the NBA since 2026 started, which is a crazy thing to think about. I think probably the Spurs are out ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
Spurs
the Thunder
have
probably
like
out ahead
2
of them.
losses since like February 1st.
Oh, yeah.
They're
They've
playing
been going
unbelievable.
absolutely crazy. But the Charlotte Hornets have been one of the best teams in the league. They've really have figured something out. They've frankly had guys healthy, right? Like one of the big problems the last couple of years for them has been LaMelo's often injured. Brandon Miller has dealt with injuries, dealt with another injury at the start of this year. But with those guys mostly healthy and available, Knipple playing well, some of these other young guys playing well, Diabate has been a revelation for them.
Kobe White's addition has been pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just a lot of guys who, and we've brought it up, they play like the Celtics do, where they will get up a lot of threes. And when you have as much shooting as they do on that team, turns out you're going to be in or win a lot of different basketball games. So, and then if you get through them, like you hope that you can win that game, then you got to go to Miami. Miami's been playing pretty well as of late. They're 5-5 in their last 10, but relatively competitive.
They lost their last 5.
Yeah, well,
they won that 5-game winning streak.
5-game winning streak, 5-game losing streak, perfectly mid for the Heat. So we'll see what they have to offer at the start of next week. That game was competitive that they played when Joel Embiid was available. You would hope if Joel, PG are back and they have the rest of these guys,
maybe Kelly,
Sans Maxey, maybe Oubre is back. You would hope that those guys are enough to go down there and beat Miami in Miami. The thing you always worried about, will Miami nightlife get to the team? Because you'll be going from Charlotte to Miami with a day off on Sunday. Always worry about that game. Even if it's a Sunday night, Miami nightlife gets the best of everybody. I would hope that this is a business-only trip, but you never truly know.
I'm just worried if Bam can score 85 in that game. That's what I'm worried about.
I do not believe that.
You're not worried about that? All right.
I am
not worried about that. So two games, though. That was tough, man. Saturday, Monday. Who knew that when the schedule was put together that these are 2 games that you would have to focus on in the final 10?
Man, if we get a Miami series, we're all traveling to that one. That is going to be, oof.
I'm in.
South Beach, Bodner.
we went
How's
down
our
there.
work going to be?
Well,
Miami nightlife.
Yeah,
we'll be
might
all right.
suffer a little bit. But
We've been to
figure it out.
Vegas.
We'll
We're all
figure it
right.
out.
We
I
can
think
handle
Derek
it.
was actually sick the last time the Sixers and Heat played in the playoff series, so I had to go down there and enjoy it without him. But
it's all right. Like 2 years prior, we had a pretty good time on South.
We did.
No, look, I mean, there's certainly some winnable games here, but even like Chicago came out and beat Houston recently. Now, look, Chicago stinks.
That was last night.
Yeah, but they had just lost like 11 in a row, and then they'll pick up a random good win against, a good team. So there's a lot of games that you can win, a lot of games that you probably should win. Now we'll see whether or not. And look, to their credit, they have taken care of business in a lot of these games that you should win. That's how they got to a 13-12 record without Paul George and without a whole bunch of other starters as well. But they're going to have to keep doing that. I think they can. I think they should. But now we'll see whether or not they do.
Quickly, Charlotte plays tonight. They have the Kings at home. They're hosting the Sacramento Kings.
Well, that's a tough test.
That is a tough test. The New York Knicks host the New Orleans Pelicans. The Cleveland Cavaliers have the Orlando Magic tonight.
And boys, speaking of the Magic, they just lost to the Pacers last night. And that's a great example of how the end of the regular season can just produce very strange results. Yep. The Sixers have a back-to-back against Indiana, second to last game of the year, where you look at that and you say, that should be a win. That's a game that it's a team that doesn't want to win games, that has been awful all year. But you look at Orlando losing to them and you say, hey, anything can happen if you don't take it seriously enough. So,
and there's only Sixers, 3 on that schedule.
We bring up the margin of error and what they don't have all the time. I think one of the only things that you would say about that is a weird positive about the missed time for PG, Joel, Maxey is these aren't guys that will have played, 30 straight games to end the year. In theory, this can be a dead sprint to the end of the season. You get their best effort, their best health, and hopefully their best production. And you take advantage of not just the tanking teams, but other teams that are feeling a little bit weary as they head into the playoffs.
And look, fresh legs are a thing. Like, nobody here on this panel would know that more than Devon. When you had that 3 months off, like, you just hit the ground running.
I was ready to go, man. Ready to go. No mistakes. I was pedal to the metal. Let's do it.
It's been too long since I've needled you about that vacation, so we had to get one in.
Looking at the Toronto Raptors just real fast, though, they're out in L.A., so they won their last game, but they're out in L.A., then they come home for New Orleans and Orlando, followed by a visit to Detroit, which is important. Home for Sacramento, at Memphis, at Boston, 2 against Miami in that back-to-back Miami series that we all, these types of series that they have. They host Miami for 2 on the 7th and the 9th. So that's going to be important. Then the at New York close out with Brooklyn at the end of the regular season, where we expect Toronto should beat Brooklyn, but they have some tough games in there too. The Toronto Raptors, who are sitting right now in the 5th spot, as we talk about being just a game and a half back of that opportunity to occupy that 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. So still a chance.
Yep.
Still a chance. Can you win?
It's just like, this is the end of this schedule is so weird. Like, San Antonio might be the perfect example of that. Like, by the time the Sixers get to San Antonio in the final week of the season, they might have nothing to play for, but Wemby, I think, can only miss one more game before he loses eligibility, so he's probably going to play. Now, he might be playing 15 or 20 minutes just so he qualifies on a technicality, but it's almost impossible to predict the last 2 weeks.
That's The Stretch, presented by Rothman. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more. With Rothman Orthopedics, your mobility, their mission. Mine too, as they have repaired my ACL and my Achilles. So I am forever part of Rothman Orthopedics. So if you need them, may not be as serious as that, but maybe something smaller, go check them out at rothmanortho.com/PHLY. All right, when we come back, we will wrap things up. We'll get to some news and notes as well as we hang out with you here on this non-game day for us here. We'll do all that when we get back here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast, presented by Bet365.
Guys, we've all had those days where you're moving nonstop. You suddenly realize, man, I'm hungry. I forgot to eat. I had one of those just today when I got pulled out of bed for an emergency, and Wawa was there for me when my day finally stabilized hours later, because the $5 big breakfast meal deal goes from 5 to 11, and you get everything. You get a sizzly. I always get a bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant. You get a hash brown. You can get any size coffee, hot or iced. I'm getting a large iced coffee. That's all for $5. And the deals do not stop at 11 a.m. when that deal stops, because you can get chicken sandwich deals, crispy or roasted, created your way for $5 all day. And they've even got new teriyaki recipes for a limited time. They are delicious. I got to get away from my normal Buffalo to give that a try. So start your day strong. Fuel up whenever you need with Wawa's $5 deals. Limited time. Exclusions apply. See Wawa.com for details. Gotta have a Wawa. A sweet mystery is going on at your local Rita's. That's right. For a limited time, you can get Peeps flavored Italian ice, and it comes with a tasty secret. Peeps ice is springtime sweet and deliciously mysterious. Stop and try it at your local Rita's and try and guess the mystery flavor on the Rita's website. You can win free Rita's for an entire year. I know for some people, Peeps can be divisive, but listen to that. You can get any type of Rita's Water Ice for a year. If you can go to ritas.com/peeps and guess the right flavor, you'll have the chance to win water ice for 365 days, but you better hurry and get to Rita's to solve this mystery flavor before it's gone. Don't forget to download the Rita's app. New app users will get a free small gelati, ice, or custard with their first purchase. Come on into Rita's and make this season the sweetest one yet with ice, custard, and happiness. Treat yourself to a scoop of happiness today. Be cool. Go to Rita's.
All right, we're back here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast, final segment with all of you. Derek, Kyle, Devon, and Bree. And we see Riaz with the super chat. Guys, how many games left do you think the starters play together? 5 games. Pacers were healthy last year and made the finals. Healthy/chemistry is key.
I'm going to take the under on 5 games because I think Tyrese minimum is out till April 1st.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical that Joel and or PG would play in a back-to-back, and they have 2 of those after April 1st. So I'm going to take 3 or 4 games would be my guess, or my hope, I
probably agree with you. That's all you get.
Well, just for perspective, like, okay, let's say his next reeval is April 1st. They play April 1st, but you don't expect he will come back right after that eval. So even if he comes back for the next game, there's only 6 games left in the regular season, and there is 2 sets of back-to-backs in those 6 games.
It's just not. It's not conducive to a lot of time on the floor together for these guys. That's my best guess. It is just a guess.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Riaz. Appreciate the super chat. Also, Paul George spoke about VJ Edgecombe and how he has shown, just a lot of good stuff, good work overall. And again, people, go check out allphly.com to read Kyle's story, where there's a lot of more info in there, especially some more quotes of what Paul George said this afternoon. But Paul George on VJ Edgecombe, what were your impressions? Yeah,
so part of what Paul said is that he's been working with VJ so that, like, everybody sees he's a great athlete, but that being a great athlete doesn't mean to go 100 miles an hour all the time. And so what Paul said he's working on with VJ is control your pace, control your tempo, get to your spots, and find your comfort level. And Paul said, this is a direct quote, he's starting to see things differently, get into his spots, raising up, playing comfortable in the mid-range area, which they've worked a ton on. I see it. It's fun for me to watch his process right now because a lot of things we've been working on, he's picking up, and it's starting to be like second nature. And we can say a lot of things about Paul George's contract and his arrival and, whatever value he brings. I do think for someone like VJ, even someone like Tyrese, who's more accomplished and a bit older, like, that's someone who can pass on a lot of tricks of the trade, right? Like, Paul George is ultra skilled at his size and really made himself into something after being like, not to say he wasn't talented in college, but he had to grow a lot as a player in his toolbox to get to where he was, which was, MVP caliber player, like getting top 5 voting there, being an all defense level guy. Like, he was a tools guy who turned himself into a tools and skill player. So I think it's been cool to see him working one-on-one with VJ. And I think I have seen what he's seeing. I obviously don't know what those two are working on behind closed doors, but we've talked about it on the show that some of what we're seeing from VJ in this stretch before he had the 30-point games was good process, maybe not the greatest results, where he's getting by people, finding that soft spot in the defense, and he's taking shots that he's going to have to live with and he's going to have to make more of. And so it makes me feel a little more sane that it's like, yeah, Paul's seeing what we're all seeing here, and it's not divorced from the reality of things. And I'm glad that he's been in VJ's ear trying to help him, because we know that VJ is a relentless worker from everybody that we've talked with. And the more people that he's able to take from, build out that skill set. I wish that they had a sort of James Harden level free throw guru, so he didn't have to score 35 points with 0 free throws the way he did, and could pick it up the way Maxey did to some extent while James was here. that might be the next level, the next mentor he needs. But I love that he's able to learn from Paul George early in his career.
Yeah, and Paul's been on this right from the jump. Like I remember, I think it might have even been before the season on a podcast where he was talking about like, conversations he was having with VJ about like, you're not here to like fit in. Like you're not here to change your game and fit next to us.
Yep.
We're here to amplify your game and your skills. And, you're talking about a future Hall of Famer that's saying that about a rookie. He's always been, I think, both a believer in VJ, wanting to help VJ reach his potential, and very supportive of VJ. And I think that's just continuing now. And look, we are seeing, we've talked about it a little bit, the numbers early in the season, how it's progressing. We have seen VJ improve that mid-range. Certainly Paul is someone who has made an art form out of that. And, he just has a lot of tricks of the trade that he can pass down to VJ and really any younger player, but VJ specifically, both because of his talent level and how much you have invested in him. And I think this is one area where Paul is, obviously max contract. You're expecting more than being a mentor, expecting more than being a third option and whatnot. But I think this is one where he adds real value to the team.
He's right around that age range, VJ Edgecombe, where he's a lot of these players in that age group favorite player because of the footwork, because of the stuff that he does in the mid-range and being able to take guys off the dribble the way he used to. And he's always been a proponent of helping younger players. So
to that point, isn't his former teammate Melo's son who said Paul George is his GOAT?
Yep.
Over his dad, the Hall of Famer,
yeah.
or future Hall of Famer. Is he in the Hall of Fame yet?
Yes.
Yeah. So the point is, even VJ's teammate whose dad is Carmelo Anthony is like, man, that Paul George guy, he's number one for me.
One of my uncles, not them, not Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. No, it's Paul George. And so he can learn from a lot of pretty good people, man. And Paul George is one of them that VJ can take advantage of this situation. So good to see what he's been able to do. Would like to see him get to the free throw line where he doesn't have to work as much, but maybe that changes too with him getting some help like Paul George back where he's not shouldering all of the responsibility. All right, let's get to some news and notes, basketball related, the no side foods and other buildings being built, all kinds of stuff that we like to have fun at the end of the show. But these are some at least fun stories or at least interesting stories. One being former Philadelphia 76er Markelle Fultz, former number one pick, signing a 10-day contract with the Toronto Raptors. He had signed on the G League team. I believe it was the Kings G League team. And the Toronto Raptors swooped in and said, you know what? Let's give him a run and see exactly what he can do for us. And he made his debut last night with them where he played in that, I think it was a blowout game. So he was able to get in there and get some action, some time out there on the floor. So good to see him back as he continues to he hasn't quit. He's continued to fight and just trying to stay back out there as they played the Utah Jazz last night. 2 points, 5 assists in 16 minutes. Also had 2 steals. He was 1 for 5 from the floor. So Markelle Fultz back there.
Yeah.
Nice to see.
It's wild that hasn't found a home, even with his obvious shortcomings, just because he is still a good athlete. Not quite what he was coming out of college, but a good athlete, really good, wingspan and physical tools, plays defense. How old is he now?
27. Because I was thinking we always said he was a good kid, and it's like, he ain't a kid
anymore. No, he's not a kid
27
anymore.
Years old. That's a man, and he's about to be 28 in late May. So
it's wild. I hope he's able to establish himself. And obviously, it's just a 10-day late in the season, but hope he makes the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him as a end of bench type guy, as a flyer, and being a little bit surprised that where was he playing in China previously?
I'm not sure.
I know he was playing overseas or at least had committed to play overseas at some period of time. Not sure he ever actually went over there, but that was the rumor that was out there. And in any case, I still think he's an NBA caliber player. Whether he's willing to accept that end of bench type role, I am not positive on, but I think the fact that he was willing to go through the G League and go through that process shows He wants to fight for his place here. So good for him. Rooting for him still. I will say I got a chill down my spine when I saw the words his agent Raymond Brothers pop across, because it's obviously no disrespect to Raymond, but there was a lot of back and forth regarding him and all the hubbub around Markelle when he was here. So the fact that relationship is still ongoing, it's a strong bond built there, I suppose.
There's a strong bond.
It's just wild. As of 2 years ago, he was making $17 million to play NBA basketball.
Crazy.
Is that still with Orlando?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Final one that we have here. Another former Sixer, but in a different way. Darius Acuff, who has been shooting up boards where some people have him as the number one guard now on their boards. He signed with Reebok before he got to college as an NIL guy. And now he's getting his signature shoe, especially after making this run. So AI and Reebok and Shaq announcing that Darius Acuff Jr., the Arkansas star, sure to be a lottery pick, a top 5 pick, it seems like right now in the upcoming June NBA draft. Still right now, Kyle, in the tournament, in the Sweet 16. And just, a kid who, I'm not going to say he came out of nowhere, but he has, again, put himself in the conversation for not just top 10 anymore. He's moved into a lot of people's top 5.
Tremendously fun player to watch. I wish he cared at all about defense.
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
It's so bad on that end of the floor. And it doesn't look like it's going to matter, at least in terms of the draft stock, because he's been such an impressive offensive engine for that team. And I think the thing that I really like about him is that, he's going to have the ball a lot, but I don't think he is like you got to just give him the ball and let him pound the air out of the ball. I think he's someone who you can run off screens and play off movement and get him involved as an off-ball player, and he can still be pretty devastating. So he's going to be an interesting test case for the tolerance level of what he doesn't do because of the upside of what he does do. Like I think he could be someone that is the engine of your offense and then gives a lot of it back on the other end. So
we've seen a lot
of
those guys.
Knows? There are a lot of those guys, and obviously there are degrees there, right? Some of those guys, it just takes, you get to the next level.
Trae
and you have
Young.
other, like Trae Young never got there. Trae Young's
there.
tiny.
Yeah.
And some guys also, when you get more support around you in terms of other offensive firepower, and there's less on your plate as a offensive guy, maybe you buy in a little bit more on defense. But he's going to be a very fun debate whenever we talk about him on the show and as we get into the pre-draft stuff, because I love the offense and I just wish he cared at all about the other stuff.
No, I mean, look, he came in there as a freshman, SEC Player of the Year, 22-6 or whatever,
season.
Shooting mid-40s from 3. And theoretically, he might be able to play. Like, he's not like Trae Young, because Trae Young is both overmatched and indifferent. Yeah. Whereas he's like, 6'2", 6'3",
he's
6'5"
big enough
wingspan.
and athletic enough.
He can at least be a neutral
defender
if he puts his mind to it. He just hasn't put his mind to it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to be an interesting one.
But a real hooper,
he can score.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
He can fill it up. So you don't have to worry about that at all. And as we talk about family lineage and all that stuff, if you all remember Detroit, where Rashad Phillips, that's his uncle. So
very opinionated guy.
Yes, he is. And wrong a lot in certain things. But
you said it, not me.
You're wrong on some things. But that said, his nephew can play some basketball. So he learned from when Rashad Phillips was playing. And it was Detroit. So it wasn't like it was Michigan or Michigan State.
No.
It was like, this
He's
guy from Detroit Mercy is, he's cooking, and he is really good. So Rashad Phillips, his nephew, Darius Acuff Jr.'s signature shoe, the Acuff 1. Maybe by the time.
Oh, and congratulations to him. I don't think I said that.
That's not easy to do.
That's a prestigious honor.
Yeah.
Congrats to that young man.
Not easy to do. So make sure you tune into the tournament to watch a little bit more of Darius Acuff. As we go into overtime at allphly.com, we thank everybody on the television side. We'll see you tomorrow. 6:30 for Sixers Bulls, the return of Paul George. Maybe we'll see the big fella out there. I don't know. But Paul George will certainly be back for the Philadelphia 76ers, 6:30 right here on the television side and allphly.com. I was looking at the Tankathon and their mock draft. Of course, they had him going to Sacramento Kings.
So it would be mean for me to be like, that sounds about right, because that.
But I know what you mean.
That makes me I'm disparaging a player who I like. Like, I enjoy watching him. He's had an incredible season. But yeah, it just kind of feels like man, they're really over-indexing on whatever.
It's unfair.
By the way, right now, Sixers sitting at 21
with
that Rockets pick, which would be.
Is it still Koa Pete?
Koa Pete is in the mock, but I don't know what Tankathon bases their
I was just curious.
Off of. So we'll wait and see where they actually land and turn to our trusted sources on all the mocks. But very fun player. Very fun player.
Just keep him away from Sacramento.
But there has been there's been more reporting, like real reporting out of Sacramento, that he's super high on their board. I think it was Matt George, who is a Kings reporter, who mentioned that either yesterday, maybe the day before. So he is on the radar. And given the weirdness around Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer with the athletic profile, the concerns that I think some people have there, I would not be shocked if somebody like an Acuff or even like a Caleb Wilson manages to sneak into what looked like a pretty impenetrable top three. I'm not so sure, depending on the team, that it's a set in stone top three this year.
Our friend of the show, Seth Greenberg from ESPN, even said that he has him above Peterson because of the fact that
doesn't shock me knowing Seth. That's a very Seth take.
And his take was, I know he's going to play. I am not worried about that. And with all the stuff hovering around Peterson, that he's like, you know what? I'm good with taking Acuff, and he's showing it on the big stage. He's gotten his team to a Sweet 16. He did it, of course, in the SEC, to your point of what he did. So Seth, the guy who covers the Kings that you just talked about, I'm sorry, I forgot his name already.
Matt George. And saying that they have him high on their board. Yeah, I mean. I would say this about Peterson before we get real deep into him at some point. I think he's someone that a lot of people are going to be very wrong about one way or another. He's either going to be the most obvious, why did we ignore the warning signs, or the most obvious, why did you care about a year in college he didn't care about when the talent is so blindingly obvious. Either way, I think he's going to take whatever chunk of the populace believes that strongly in one side, and he's going to just throw them into the ocean. So we're going to see which one it is. Which side we're all on by the end.
Another good class.
Yes.
I mean, another really good class, because Acuff was in that top 10. Now he's pushing himself in there. And Caleb Wilson, who has missed a big part of the last season when he broke, what was it, his hand that he broke?
Yeah.
Broke his hand that he couldn't even play. But still, as Kyle said, some have him, he might be top 3 over Peterson, where Boozer and Debanza are the ones right there as well, where it pushes Peterson out. Especially with the Pacers piece of this whole thing, this is going to be really interesting. Where do the Hawks end up? If OKC does get into the, in that top, who knows? But
right, and teams like that. So I think with OKC, then you wonder, would they trade out of that top 3 for a more ready-made guy? Although I do think they are trying to keep the payroll light, so I think that's probably unlikely. But then Atlanta, does Atlanta want to cash in and go for a big fish? Like it's hard to know. So a lot of different variables.
Gonna be a fun one.
The New Orleans pick having a 1 in 4 chance of being in the top 4, and they just traded it with no protection.
Well, at least they're having a great year this year.
Sucks for them, and they get to move to the Eastern Conference. Maybe we'll see.
I'm still putting my money on Minnesota, I think.
Minnesota and Seattle.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of Anthony Edwards.
Well, I hope Seattle's not moving.
No, I just mean
that would really mess up the realignment.
That would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. All right, that'll do it for us on this Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow, 6:30 for Sixers Bulls, the return of Paul George. Till then, it's time to say goodbye and world famous roll call.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Thank you to our super chatter, Riaz, today.
Riaz, what up?
Good to see you, Riaz. Good to see our people here. 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. We don't do a lot of 3 p.m. shows during the season, especially the way their schedule's been lately. We do have another one on Friday as a reminder. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Please hit the like button while you're here. It helps out the show. It makes me feel good. It's reflecting well on the whole gang up here, but it helps out everybody here at PHLY. And it says thank you to super producer Bree, who's making it all happen behind the scenes. So say thank you, Bree. And also happy belated birthday to Bree, who just celebrated redacted birthday. Happy birthday to Bree, the best. Got to celebrate, have some time off over the weekend.
Hit the like button for her.
Hit the like button for Bree and say happy birthday, Bree, in the chat. On the way out, just want to say hello and thank you to our guy, Eugene Ross.
What up, Gene?
What's up, Eugene? What's up to Kyle P., Terrence Knights, George Andrew, J-Dub215.
J-Dub.
Darkness!
Turn the lights down. For a lot of these teams in the NBA, you're just
Yes.
getting ready to wrap things
The lights
up
have
on
been
their
down
season.
for a while
Yeah.
for some of these teams. Thank you to Sean Sharp, Cenobite Mayor, Andrew Sharp, JS, Alden Network, Vino
Alden,
Wines,
what up?
Greeny Green, Mom's Grandchildren. What's up to Mom? Hello to Val, to Jess, to my girl Nona.
Jazzy. Hey,
Hello to
ladies.
Jazz. Hello to Art. Hello to Riaz again. Phillies _675 Craig. You better love somebody.
Love somebody, love somebody.
Hello to Music Lover, to 76ers TTP, to
Hey, that
Hedfa,
music.
Sean Williams,
Hey,
AA Ron, Jay the Jungle, Alden Network. Thank you, everybody,
What up,
for
y'all?
being here, including the people I didn't get to, just because there are a lot of you, and I don't always have the time to read everyone, but I still love you all. On the way out, of course, hit the like button and also hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. We will be back for pre and post game of Paul George's return and hopefully the return of Joel Embiid.
Let's hope
Maybe an update on Kelly Oubre. You'll learn about it all here. Pre-game, post-game, reacting to the show. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, against the Bulls. Until then, stay safe. Take care of one another. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.